Even though I don't speak the language, I learned a lot yesterday from Steve's wife, Rose. She met up with us, and Lynn and her had a deep conversation at points. So what did they get into? First and foremost, we put a lot of pressure on them. And it's merely because we don't speak the language, and they have to do it all. And in many cases, I suspect with all of us, they have never gone through this stuff before, guys. Not to this depth, and not to the speed of the Western expectation. And as you know from many of my videos, I cited many times how long it was taking to get our electrical done. And the signatures required. You were flying over here, and you're flying over there, and you're doing this and that. Nothing is cross-connected. Even though they have lots of computer, they have even more paper. But I think the biggest underlying message here is Westerners have this insatiable need to move quickly on a piece of property. And maybe we aren't listening, guys. We're not listening. And of course, you know, in many cases we hear, whatever you want, because we, you know, tend again to move at the speed of a Western country and have those Western expectations. So when you're going to search for land, of course, and I'm going to cite this right off the bat, guys, don't ever pay that earnest money. Don't pay it. There's been way too many situations where once it's done, they just walk away from you and wait for you to sue them or whatever, take them to court. The court system here is massively slow. Okay, but picking up land, the romance of the Philippines is not what you think it is. It is not. It is not that tropical beach environment that you see in the movies, and you know, Jason Bourne sitting on the beach and they zoom back and it's all this wonderful environment. It might not be, and it could be an absolute nightmare. The cultural differences, I think Westerners are not taking it into account. We take it into account and we live it for the first few years. And then some of us lose it and we cannot adapt to it. And maybe we have moved so fast that we can't recover back into our own countries. You know, I see some big mistakes being made all the time out of, no, this is what I'm going to do. And yet you haven't taken the time to just sit down and enjoy it and live it before you make that heavy commitment. If you own a home, own a condo, man, oh man, rent it out for a while. I'm serious. It's just, you should not move too fast. You know, there's also these, you know, things that you have to get ready for when you purchase a piece of property. Your tax declaration likely isn't to come to you very, very fast. We're now 8 months into our tax deck and we still haven't got the final paperwork registered. You know, like they've got everything at the city hall, they just haven't done the work. And it's massively frustrating. And if you want to check your rights on this, you can, because that paperwork, once filed, is supposed to be done within 14 days. We're sitting here 8 months later, and our lawyer is constantly on them. And there is a, what do you call it, a watchdog group here. Don't know what they call it. And so he's used them to go through them to say that, you know, the paperwork's not done. And it's still another 2 months after that got filed. So, you know, even the watchdog groups run into these problems. You know, everybody from a government office, you know, they just kind of you know, all I can do is what I can do, you know, and we're understaffed and everything. It's the classic stuff, guys, because you never get to the person who ultimately makes all of these decisions. So yeah, the pressure we put on them. Wow, you know, I knew that I was putting a lot of pressure on Lynn. We must be on a military route for these helicopters. Every once in a while, two or three of them will just fly over. Um, but yeah, take the time, guys. Take the time. Last thing you want to do is destroy your relationship over something like this. And as I cited in my other video here, which was also coming out of the conversation with Rose and Lynn, you know, be careful about where you move to, okay? It all sounds good and everything to move to your lady's backyard and set up camp and do all of that stuff, but it may not fit with your lifestyle. And the one thing about the Filipino people, because of the OFW program, they're so used to living everywhere and anywhere that I wouldn't worry too much about that side of things, guys. You know, you might find that the environment is just not conducive to you. And again, it might be fine for 2 or 3 years. But, you know, like the number of times I hear people building and doing all of that stuff, and 3 or 4 years later, whoop, big grinder, 3 or 4 years later, they're moving, you know, and quite often it's heading back to their native country. That I understand. But again, all the more reason why you shouldn't sell that house and stuff too quickly, even if you do need the money for the, you know, build and stuff. Rent for a while, guys. Rent your property out and rent for a while. You know, it took Lynn and I over 10 years. Over 10 years. And yeah, it takes a while to settle in to the Philippines. Just saying. Later, Gators.